Morning. Of course, y'all know what time it is. Of course, I'm freezing, and of course, my nose is running. Yes. I just turned the heater up thinking that might help, but it probably won't. I'm just cold in this house. But anyway, we're going to talk about that a million times, but I'm always cold in this house. But anyway, it's friendship tea time, and y'all, the messages I got from that video yesterday were the sweetest things ever. They really were. And it brings to mind so many things that, the Lord is speaking to me about and stuff, and how you're sharing your story and being real with people can mean so much to people. And I know that's true because I've experienced it in my own life, and I was going to tell y'all a story about that. But before I do, I wanted to show y'all always talk about my china up here. And I thought I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk about that just for a second before I tell you the story. And I hope this one won't be 10 minutes long, y'all. But anyway, y'all love this china. And so I was going to show y'all because y'all have asked. It's by Johnson Brothers, and it's called Devon's Cottage. And I love it too. I've had it about 10 years. And I bought it to match. My kitchen used to be yellow. And so I had blues and yellows those were my colors, like blue and yellow and a little bit of pops of red. It was more jewel tone then. And that's when I got this. And I do love this. And that's the bowl. And the cup is, I thought about it because y'all said yesterday y'all wanted me to drink out of my cup and saucer. So I am going to do that. And I am doing that. And I'm going to show you that too. And that's the saucer. It looks a little different. And the cup. Anyway, I love those. But those are not my favorite ones. So I wanted to show you my favorite ones. My house I lived in before we moved in this house, my kitchen was green. It was it's not gonna sound good, but it was like an olive green. It was called Wellington green, and I loved it so much. We built that house, and I picked up those colors, and I loved it so much. And here it's blue, and I've got the little pops of pink and stuff everywhere. And when I had when my kitchen was yellow, I had little pops of blue and red. And in that house, the walls were green, and I had little pops of lavender. So I had lavender flowers. I had hydrangeas that were purple, and not purple but lavender. And so my nose is running, y'all. My nose is running. But anyway, my walls were green there. So I love the Devon's Cottage, but I love this one even more. This is by Wood & Sons. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that pretty? There's not a name for this. I just think they call it. Wood & Sons don't make pretty like Devon's Cottage. That sounds so pretty, and I wish these had pretty names, but they just go by green floral or brown floral or whatever. But that's Wood & Sons, and that's the bowl for that. And that's what I'm drinking out of today. My green pattern little cup and saucer, and I love that one too. But that is not my favorite. Neither one of those are my favorite. I often, I've told y'all that I lived with my grandmother as a child, and I wish that I had one single piece of anything of hers. I wish that I did, but I didn't. I was only 9 years old when she died, and I lived in Ohio. She died in a car wreck when I was 9, and I lived in Ohio, and she lived here. And let me get a drink, y'all. And maybe that'll make my nose stop running. But so I didn't get anything of hers when she died. I never even moved back to Shreveport till after I left the home when I was 18. So anyway, everything of hers was gone by the time I was back here in Shreveport. But I remember her pattern of her dishes. I remember it because she would fix us breakfast every morning when we lived with her. I'll never forget those dishes. And I found them in an antique store. They're not hers, but they were her pattern and the exact dishes that she had. And I went to get them out to show y'all this morning, and I can't find the cup and saucer. I've got them put up somewhere, but I was going to show you. These were her dishes. These were not hers. These are not actually hers, but like I said, this was her pattern. And it is by Blue Ridge. And it doesn't say the name of the pattern at all, but I've got the little bitty bowl. I remember her eating little ice cream or something out of these little bowls. Isn't that the sweetest thing? And I don't know if these were expensive. I don't know. I don't even remember what I paid for them at the antique store. But I mean, in reality, my grandmother was not a rich lady, so I don't know if she got these at the TG&Y or where they came from. But I sure love that pattern because that's why the cup is put up somewhere, because we don't even use these because they just remind me so much of her, and I love her so much. But anyway, those are my little chinas and the stories behind them. But anyway, I was just talking about, how important it is to be real with people. And when I say real, listen to me. Like my grandmother died in that car wreck with the bottle of black hair dye in her passenger seat. She was as vain as she could be. She cared about her looks, and I got that from her. And so, you know, I got hair extensions, lash extensions, all this makeup, Botox. When I say be real, I don't mean any looks. Do what you got to do, girl, to look better. And I'm all about that. I'm talking about being real with your life and with yourself and stuff, because I think it helps people. I think about when we were younger and we used to go to church, and we the day of church, we'd be getting ready for church and we'd all be fighting. My kids would be screaming, fight with each other. We'd be fighting with them. I'd be grabbing my daughter's hair and doing that ponytail and fussing with my husband, asking for a divorce before we went to church and all the things. But girl, when we got to, or guy, whoever's watching, when we got to that church, we got out of that minivan, we had our Bible and we held hands and we spoke good morning, like we were the little Stepford family. I look like Pippi Longstocking with all the stuff hanging out. Like we were the little Stepford family. But you know what? Everybody else was doing it too. And everybody else was doing exactly what we did at home before we got out of that minivan and pretended like everything was perfect. And who did that serve? That didn't serve, because it made me, I knew we were faking it. I knew we were. But I thought Missy and Joe over there with their three little darlings were not faking it, and we were just having to be like them because they were perfect and we weren't. But they weren't perfect. And so I'll tell you a story about my sweet friend Tammy. Her dad was the pastor of one of the biggest churches in our town, and she is a doll. And she's as funny as she can be, and she's as real as she can be. But she was the pastor's daughter. She was homecoming queen. She was beautiful. She was all the things. She's still all the things. She's successful. She's got a successful husband. I used to work for her husband. He owned a business, a therapy business, and I was his assistant. But anyway, just an incredible person. But you know, it's one of those people, like, she's the pastor's daughter, she's all the things, and so you feel a little bit intimidated and you want to be like them and all things. And I used to go to a Bible study with her, with a bunch of different ladies when we were young and our kids were little. And I remember one particular time we were sitting around and we were talking about, you know, the difficulties we had raising kids and being a wife and working if you worked or whatever. And everybody would, you know, they were going one by one and talking about, you know, the difficulty with their child. And people would say things like, one of the ladies would say things like, well, I couldn't get little Bobby to brush his teeth for the full 10 minutes. Or, you know, just these little piddly things. Or, you know, I couldn't get Jill to finish her homework. And I'm sitting over here thinking, you know, Hunter jumped off the roof yesterday, and Chase, we're worried about him unaliving us in our sleep. And Emily, well, I can't say anything about Emily, and she was pretty perfect. But, you know, the boys, I mean, I was sitting here thinking, when they get to me, I'm going to have to come up with some fake story about my, you know, they didn't fold their clothes properly and left the drawer halfway open, something piddly like that, because I can't tell them what really happened over here, because my kids are heathens and their kids must be, yeah. So anyway, it gets to Tammy, and I'm thinking, oh God, this is gonna be. How can I follow Tammy? Because the perfection in her life has got to be. You know, and you just feel so inferior to that. Well, we get to Tammy, and Tammy said, I don't know who you people are or who y'all's kids are, but I don't even like, somebody come get my kids, because I don't even like them little things. And I remember thinking, the relief that came over me, and that this perfect person that you have on this pedestal, the pastor's daughter, the homecoming queen, the beauty, the perfect kids that was doing those smiling hello at church, it was not. And she was so real. And the relief that came over me, because I could just tell, like, Hunter jumped off the roof. You know, he didn't really, he might have, I don't really remember. I wouldn't doubt it, y'all. But anyway, I just being real was such a relief. It was such a relief. And so it doesn't serve you to be fake about those kind of things. And it doesn't serve other people that are watching you and wishing their lives were like that. And so anyway, so it's helping me to share my stories of my life with y'all, and y'all are saying that's helping you too, and I'm so glad about that. So anyway, that's today. That's China Friendship Tea, and telling y'all to be real, because it really does help. Love y'all.